The scream tore through the silent Christmas Eve like shattered glass. Somewhere in the distance, a child's voice cried out in terror, then faded into the muffled quiet of falling snow. But no one heard it. No one except the bitter wind that carried it away into nothingness. Alexander Montgomery stood alone on the balcony of his penthouse, 40 floors above Boston's glittering skyline. The city sprawled before him like a carpet of diamonds, each light representing lives intertwined in celebration, while he remained isolated in his tower of success. His breath clouded in the frigid December air as he swirled 18-year-old scotch in a crystal tumbler. Christmas Eve, another year gone. The phone in his pocket vibrated for the 5th time in an hour. He didn't need to check it. More obligatory holiday wishes from business associates, politicians who needed his donations, charity boards seeking his presence at galas, messages from people who knew his name, but not the man behind it. He took another sip, letting the amber liquid burn down his throat. At 54, Alexander Montgomery had built an empire. Montgomery Development stood as the crown jewel of Boston's real estate market. 12 high-rises, 8 luxury residential complexes, 5 commercial centers, and an emptiness so profound it seemed to echo in the cavernous spaces of his life. The phone vibrated again. This time he pulled it out. Mr. Montgomery Victor Chen's team just submitted a competing bid for the Harborside project. They're offering 15% above our proposal. We have until tomorrow night to counter or we lose the contract. Merry Christmas, by the way. Alex closed his eyes. Victor Chen, always there, always pushing, always waiting for him to slip. The Harborside project represented the largest development opportunity in Boston's history. Losing it would cost his shareholders millions, perhaps billions, in future revenue. The board would question his leadership. The media would speculate about Montgomery Development's decline. He had 24 hours to salvage everything he'd built, 24 hours to outmaneuver Chen, 24 hours that should have been spent celebrating with family, if he had one. Behind him, the sounds of the company Christmas party continued. Laughter music, the clink of glasses. He'd made his mandatory appearance, delivered the expected speech about record profits and bright futures. Now they barely noticed his absence, which was exactly how he preferred it. His mind drifted to another Christmas 25 years ago, when he was still Alex rather than Alexander Montgomery, CEO. When a small apartment filled with secondhand furniture had felt more like home than this glass and steel monument to success ever would. Rebecca's laugh echoed in his memory, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. The smell of her hair as they lay tangled together on that lumpy sofa, planning a future that never materialized. "We'll have a house by a lake someday," she'd said. "With kids running around and a big dog, you'll build it yourself." He'd promised her everything then, and delivered nothing. Alex drained the last of his scotch. The board meeting tomorrow would require his complete focus. There was no room for ghosts of Christmas past, no time for regrets. He turned to go back inside when a final text message lit up his phone. "Alex, it's Sarah. Dad passed away this morning. Thought you should know." Sarah Chen, Victor's younger sister. The message knocked the air from his lungs. Dr. Harold Chen had been his mentor at Harvard, the man who'd believed in him when no one else did. He hadn't spoken to Harold in 15 years, not since the accident at the Westbrook site. Not since 5 workers died because Alex had rushed construction to meet an arbitrary deadline. Harold had warned him. Alex hadn't listened, and now Harold was gone, taking any chance of reconciliation with him. The party inside suddenly seemed obscene. Without a word to anyone, Alex grabbed his coat and left. The elevator descended in silence, each floor marking another year of achievement and loss. In the lobby, his driver waited by the Bentley, but Alex waved him off. "Take the night off, James. Merry Christmas." "Sir, are you sure it's freezing out there?" "I need to walk. Clear my head." The cold hit him like a physical blow as he stepped onto the street. Snow fell in lazy spirals, coating his shoulders and hair with delicate crystalline patterns that melted almost instantly. His Italian leather shoes crunched through fresh powder as he walked without destination, hands buried deep in his cashmere coat pockets. Boston Common appeared before him, trees draped in white paths, winding through the darkness like veins of silver. The park was nearly empty. Most people were home with families opening presents, sharing meals, creating memories. Alex walked deeper into its silent heart street lights, casting long shadows across untouched snow. He passed the frozen frog pond where he'd once taught Rebecca to ice skate, past the bandstand where they'd danced one summer night under stars, past benches where they'd planned a future together. Then he stopped. Something was wrong. At first, he thought it was just an abandoned pile of clothes on the bench ahead. Then it moved. A small figure huddled against the bitter cold. A child. Alex approached slowly. It was a little girl no more than 7 years old. Her coat was far too thin for the weather, her sneakers soaked through with snow and ice. She held something wrapped in a ragged pink blanket close to her chest, protecting it from the elements with her own body. She looked up as his shadow fell across her, and the fear in those wide hazel eyes struck him like a physical blow. "Please don't take us back," she whispered, her voice cracking with cold and terror. "She wants to hurt us." Alex froze, uncertain how to respond. Us. He glanced at the bundle in her arms and realized it was moving slightly. Not something. Someone. "Are you alone out here?" he asked, crouching down to her level, despite the snow soaking through the knees of his $1,000 trousers. The girl didn't answer directly. Instead, she shifted the bundle in her arms, revealing the tiny face of an infant. A baby that couldn't be more than 10 months old, cheeks flushed with cold, dark smudges under its eyes from exhaustion. "This is my brother Noah," she said. "He's sick. I had to take him away from there." Alex's gaze fixed on the child's neck. Around the infant's throat were marks, dark bruises in the unmistakable pattern of adult fingers. Something primitive and protective roared to life inside him, a feeling so foreign and forgotten that he almost didn't recognize it. Rage. Pure, uncomplicated rage at whoever had put their hands on this baby. Who did this to him? Alex asked, keeping his voice gentle despite the fury building inside. "Aunt Helen," the girl whispered. "She gets angry when he cries. She locks us in the basement when she drinks." Alex swallowed hard. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said, her small voice nearly lost in the wind. "I'm Alex," he said, then noticed something around the girl's neck. A silver chain with a pendant. Something achingly familiar that made his heart stutter. A small silver locket in the shape of a half moon, identical to the one he'd given Rebecca for her 21st birthday. The design was unique, custom made by a jeweler on Newbury Street, who had long since retired. "Where did you get that necklace?" he asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. Lily's hand went to the locket. "It was my mom's. She said it was special." Alex tried to steady his breathing. "Lily, we need to get you and Noah somewhere warm." "Will you come with me?" Fear flickered across her face. "Are you going to take us back to Aunt Helen?" "No," he said firmly. "I promise you won't go back there. Not tonight. Not ever." He slipped off his coat and wrapped it around both children, ignoring the bite of winter against his suit. He lifted them carefully, Lily still clutching Noah to her chest, and began walking toward the street where he could hail a taxi. "There's a diner not far from here," he said. "It's open all night. We'll get you something to eat, and then we'll figure out what to do next." Lily didn't respond, but she leaned her head against his shoulder, her body trembling with cold and exhaustion. 20 minutes later, they sat in the back booth of an all-night diner. The fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow over the worn vinyl seats and chipped formica tables. A tired-looking Christmas tree blinked in the corner, its ornaments askew and mismatched. The jukebox played Blue Christmas, the irony not lost on Alex. He'd ordered chicken noodle soup and hot chocolate for Lily, warm milk for Noah, and black coffee for himself. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and too many worry lines, had raised an eyebrow at the odd trio, but asked no questions. Lily sipped her cocoa with both hands, her fingers still trembling slightly. Noah had fallen asleep in Alex's arms, his tiny body finally relaxing in the warmth of the diner. Alex watched them both, his mind racing with questions and possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. "Can you tell me what happened, Lily?" "How you ended up in the park tonight." She set down her mug, leaving a chocolate mustache that made her look even younger than she was. "Mom got sick. Cancer in her blood, the doctor said. She tried really hard to get better, but she couldn't." Alex felt something inside him go very still. "Your mom, Rebecca," Lily said. "Rebecca Williams. She died 3 months ago." The name hit him like a physical blow. Rebecca Williams. His Rebecca. The woman he'd loved and left behind for the promise of success and fortune. The woman whose heart he'd broken when he chose Singapore over Boston, career over love. After Mom died, we lived with James for a while. He was nice. He made pancakes, shaped like animals, and read us stories at night. James was your father? Alex asked, his throat tight. Lily shook her head. My stepdad. He married Mom after you. The implication of her words hung in the air between them. But James had an accident at work, Lily continued. He fell from a building. Then Aunt Helen came to take care of us. Aunt Helen is your mother's sister, Lily nodded. She said she'd take care of us, but she doesn't like us much, especially Noah. She calls him the mistake and gets mad when he cries. Alex felt his hands tighten reflexively around the sleeping infant. Has she hurt you too, Lily? The girl's eyes dropped to the table. Sometimes. Mostly she locks me in the basement when she goes out. She says I'm just like Mom, too smart for my own good. Alex took a slow, steadying breath. How did you find me? Lily reached into the pocket of her coat and pulled out the silver locket. It was tarnished, the chain frayed, but when she opened it, Alex stopped breathing. On one side was a photo of Rebecca smiling, with her head tilted the way he remembered. On the other side was him 25 years younger, in a Harvard sweatshirt, his arm slung carelessly around Rebecca's shoulders. She kept this all these years, he whispered. Lily nodded. Sometimes when she was really tired from the medicine, she would tell us stories about a man who built big cities but forgot how to build a home. She said that's what broke her heart. Alex stared at the locket for a long time. 25 years of choices and consequences suddenly converged in this moment with these children in this dingy diner on Christmas Eve. The night before Mom died, Lily said quietly, she held my hand and said, Lily, if anything ever happens, find Alex Montgomery. He'll know what to do. A lump formed in Alex's throat, nearly choking him. She said that. Lily nodded. Then, almost absently, she began to hum a tune. Soft, slightly off-key, but unmistakable. A melody Alex hadn't heard in over 2 decades. Something he and Rebecca had created together. One rainy Sunday morning, a nonsense song they'd added verses to over coffee and laughter. How do you know that song? He asked, his voice barely audible. Mom sang it to Noah when he was fussy. It was her special song. She said she made it with someone special. Alex's vision blurred with unexpected tears. He looked down at Noah, sleeping peacefully in his arms, then back at Lily, with her chocolate mustache and solemn eyes. Rebecca's eyes. We need to get Noah to a hospital, he said finally. Those marks on his neck need to be looked at, and we need to make sure he's okay. Fear flashed across Lily's face. Will they send us back to Aunt Helen? No, Alex said with more confidence than he felt. I won't let that happen. An hour later, they walked through the emergency room doors at Massachusetts General Hospital. The bright fluorescent lights made them all blink after the darkness outside. Noah had awakened during the taxi ride and was now fussing quietly in Alex's arms. Lily stayed close to his side, one small hand clutching the edge of his suit jacket as if afraid he might disappear. A triage nurse looked up as they approached, her eyes widening slightly at the incongruous sight they made a disheveled man in an expensive suit, holding an infant with a bedraggled little girl at his side, all three dusted with melting snow. This baby needs help, Alex said, and so does his sister. They were whisked away immediately to a pediatric examination room. A team of nurses gently took Noah from Alex's arms, laying him on an examination table. One nurse carefully unwrapped him from the blanket, revealing more bruises across his tiny chest and back. Oh God, a nurse whispered. How long has he been like this? Before Alex could answer, a doctor entered. She was in her early 40s with sharp, intelligent eyes behind stylish glasses. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, pediatric attending. What do we have here? The name hit Alex like another blow. Chen, Sarah Chen, Victor's sister. He hadn't seen her in 15 years, not since her father had cut all ties with him after the accident. She didn't recognize him at first, focused entirely on Noah. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, checking vitals, examining the bruises shining a light into the baby's eyes. These bruises aren't fresh, she said quietly. There are older ones here too, in various stages of healing. Someone has been hurting this baby for weeks, maybe months. She looked up then, ready to ask questions of the adult in the room, and froze. Recognition dawned in her eyes, followed quickly by something harder to define. Shock, anger, perhaps even fear. Alex Montgomery, she said flatly. Hello, Sarah. Are these your children? The question carried an edge of accusation. No, he said, then hesitated. At least I don't think so. It's complicated. I found them in Boston Common. The girl says they've been abused by their aunt. Sarah's gaze softened as she turned to Lily. Hi there, I'm Dr. Chen. What's your name? Lily Williams, the girl said quietly. And this is your brother? Lily nodded. Noah, he's 10 months old. Aunt Helen hurts him when he cries. She says he's too much trouble. Sarah's expression remained professional, but Alex saw her jaw tighten. We need to document these injuries, she said, and I need to call Child Protective Services. It's protocol in cases like this. I understand, Alex said. Sarah gave him a long, assessing look. These children can't go back to this aunt. No, Alex agreed. They can't. I'll need to talk to you privately after the examination, and CPS will have questions too. I'll tell them everything I know, Alex promised. Sarah turned back to Noah, her manner gentling as she spoke to the infant. Let's get you fixed up, little one. A nurse led Lily to another examination table, where she submitted to a checkup with stoic determination. Alex stood between them, feeling helpless and out of place in this sterile room that smelled of antiseptic and fear. Mr. Montgomery, a soft voice spoke from the doorway. A woman in her 30s with a clipboard and tired eyes regarded him with professional detachment. I'm Gabriela Martinez from Child Protective Services. Can I speak with you outside? In the hallway, she wasted no time. What is your relationship to these children? Alex ran a hand through his hair. I found them in Boston Common about 3 hours ago. The girl Lily says they ran away from their aunt who's been abusing them, and you brought them straight here. Her tone suggested skepticism. We stopped at a diner first to get them warm and fed, Alex admitted. I should have come directly to the hospital, but they were freezing and hungry. Gabriella made a note on her clipboard. Did Lily give you any information about this aunt? Helen, Rebecca Williams' sister. Rebecca was the children's mother. She died of cancer 3 months ago. And the father, the stepfather James, died in a construction accident. As for Lily's biological father, Alex took a deep breath. I think it might be me. Gabriella's eyebrows rose. You think? I was in a relationship with Rebecca Williams 25 years ago. We broke up when I took a job in Singapore. I never knew she was pregnant. I never knew about Lily until tonight. That's quite a claim, Mr. Montgomery. I know how it sounds, but Lily has her mother's locket with my picture in it. She knows a song Rebecca and I wrote together, and she says her mother told her to find me if anything happened. Gabriella studied him for a long moment. DNA testing can resolve the paternity question. But right now, my concern is the immediate safety of these children. They can't go back to this Helen person, and they can't be released to you without verification of your claims. Where will they go tonight? Alex asked, sudden fear gripping him at the thought of Lily and Noah being taken away. Into emergency foster care, most likely separated, since most homes can't take an infant and child together on short notice. The thought of Lily and Noah being split up after everything they'd endured was unbearable. No, Alex said firmly. That can't happen. Isn't there any alternative? There is a provision for emergency temporary guardianship, Gabriella said cautiously, but it would require a judge's approval. And on Christmas Eve, I know every judge in Suffolk County, Alex said. I'll get approval. These children are not being separated tonight. Something in his tone must have convinced her he meant business. I'll make some calls, she said. But Mr. Montgomery, understand that this would be very temporary. 72 hours at most, until a formal hearing can be arranged. I understand. Just don't separate them. Please. While Gabriella stepped away to make her calls, Alex returned to the examination room. Sarah Chen was finishing her examination of Noah, who was now dressed in a clean hospital gown and sleeping peacefully. How is he? Alex asked. Physically, he's suffering from mild hypothermia and dehydration, Sarah said. But we're more concerned about his heart. There's a murmur that suggests a congenital defect. We'll need to do an echocardiogram when he's more stable. Alex felt his stomach drop. Is it serious? It could be, Sarah admitted, but we can't know for certain until we've done more tests. She glanced at Lily, who was now curled up on a chair in the corner, half asleep. The girl seems physically unharmed aside from some old bruises and mild malnourishment. But the psychological trauma, she shook her head. They've been through hell, Alex. It was the first time she'd used his first name since he'd arrived. Sarah, he began, about your father. I just heard. I'm so sorry. Her expression hardened. 15 years too late for condolences, don't you think? I know, I should have reached out long ago. The accident. There's no excuse for what happened. No, there isn't. She looked at him for a long moment. But that's not what matters right now. These children do. What's going to happen to them? I'm trying to get emergency temporary guardianship, Alex said. Just for the next 72 hours until we can sort things out. I can't let them go into the system and be separated. Sarah's expression softened slightly. That's unexpected. What is you caring about someone other than yourself and your bottom line? The words stung because they contained too much truth. People can change, he said quietly. Can they? She didn't sound convinced. Well, for these children's sake, I hope you have. Gabriella returned, her expression unreadable. Judge Blackwood has agreed to a telephone hearing regarding emergency temporary guardianship. She's waiting on the line in the conference room. For the next 30 minutes, Alex made his case to Judge Eleanor Blackwood, a stern woman known for her no-nonsense approach to family court matters. He explained the situation, his possible connection to Lily, and his resources to care for both children temporarily. Mr. Montgomery, the judge's voice crackled through the speakerphone. I'm inclined to grant temporary custody for 72 hours, given the circumstances, but understand that this is highly unusual and very temporary. You will appear in my courtroom at 9 a.m. on December 27th for a formal hearing. Until then, you will permit regular visits from CPS, and these children will receive all necessary medical care. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor. Perfectly clear. Very well. I'm granting emergency temporary guardianship to Alexander Montgomery for Lily and Noah Williams until 9 a.m. December 27th. Ms. Martinez, please complete the necessary paperwork. After signing a stack of forms, Alex was finally permitted to see the children again. Lily was awake now, sitting beside Noah's crib. Her small hand reached through the bars to hold her brother's. Lily, Alex said gently, the doctors say Noah needs to stay here tonight for observation. But tomorrow, if he's better, you'll both come home with me for a while. Is that okay? She looked up at him, those solemn eyes searching his face. You won't send us back to Aunt Helen. Never, he promised. And you won't separate us. Never, he repeated more firmly this time. She seemed to consider this then, nodded once, a gesture so adult it made his heart ache. Okay, I'll stay with Noah tonight. I'll stay too, Alex said, surprising himself with the certainty in his voice. I'm not leaving either of you. And he didn't. Alex spent Christmas Eve in an uncomfortable hospital chair, watching over two children who had appeared in his life like ghosts from his past. As midnight approached, bringing Christmas Day, he looked at his phone. 24 emails from his executive team about the Harborside project. 12 hours left to counter Victor Chen's offer. Millions of dollars and his company's future hanging in the balance. Without hesitation, he typed a brief reply to his CFO. Pull our bid on Harborside. Family emergency requires my full attention indefinitely. Delegate all pending matters to appropriate department heads. Will contact you when I can. He sent the email, then turned off his phone. For the first time in 25 years, Alexander Montgomery was putting something above his business, something more important than money or power or success. In the dim light of the hospital room, he watched Lily sleeping, her hand still stretched through the crib bars to touch her brother. In sleep, her face relaxed from its careful mask of bravery, revealing the child she truly was. Vulnerable, innocent, wounded, and somehow inexplicably his. Morning arrived in a haze of fluorescent lights and the soft beeping of hospital monitors. Alex blinked awake, his neck stiff from sleeping upright in the vinyl chair. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was or why every muscle in his body ached. Then he saw Lily curled up on the small sofa beside him, her face peaceful in sleep, and everything came rushing back. Christmas morning, the hospital, the children who had appeared in his life like ghosts from a forgotten past. Noah stirred in his crib, making soft cooing sounds. Alex rose quietly, careful not to wake Lily, and approached the baby. In the harsh morning light, the bruises on Noah's neck seemed even more stark against his pale skin. Alex clenched his jaw, fighting another wave of protective rage. 10 months old, just a baby, who could hurt a child so young, so defenseless? Good morning, little one, he whispered, reaching down to stroke Noah's cheek with one finger. The baby looked up at him with wide, dark eyes, not crying, just watching. It struck Alex then how quiet Noah was for an infant. Most babies his age would be babbling, making noise. This one had learned early that crying brought pain. The thought broke something inside him. A nurse entered, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Montgomery, Dr. Chen would like to speak with you about Noah's test results." Alex glanced at Lily, still asleep. "I don't want to leave them alone." "I'll stay with them," the nurse offered. "Dr. Chen is just down the hall in her office." Sarah Chen looked like she hadn't slept at all. Her office was spartanly furnished with medical textbooks lining the walls and a few framed diplomas. No personal photos, no Christmas decorations. She gestured for Alex to sit. "We completed Noah's echocardiogram early this morning," she said without preamble. "He has a ventricular septal defect, a hole between the two lower chambers of his heart." Alex felt his stomach drop. "Is it serious?" "In his case, yes. The defect is large enough that it's causing significant blood flow from the left to the right ventricle. His heart is working overtime, which explains his poor weight gain and fatigue." "Can it be fixed?" Sarah nodded. "He'll need surgery. The sooner the better, honestly. I'd recommend within the next 2 weeks. Left untreated, this could lead to heart failure or pulmonary hypertension." Alex ran a hand through his hair. "Surgery, my God. And his aunt was just leaving him in a basement. Some congenital heart defects aren't immediately obvious," Sarah said. "But yes, any competent caregiver would have noticed his breathing difficulties, poor feeding, and excessive sweating. These aren't subtle symptoms." "What happens now?" "I've scheduled a consultation with our pediatric cardiac surgeon for tomorrow morning. In the meantime, Noah can be discharged today. His hypothermia and dehydration have resolved. We've documented his injuries for the CPS case, and he's on medication to help his heart function until surgery." She hesitated. "Alex, do you have any experience with infants?" "None," he admitted. "Then you should know Noah will need special care. His heart condition means he tires easily during feeding. He'll need smaller, more frequent meals. He may need to stop and rest while eating, and he absolutely cannot be allowed to cry for extended periods. The strain isn't good for his heart." The enormity of what he'd taken on began to sink in. Caring for a child with a serious medical condition, being responsible for 2 traumatized children, all while trying to sort out the legal complications and his own tumultuous emotions. "I'll figure it out," he said, with more confidence than he felt. Sarah studied him for a long moment. "Why are you doing this, Alex?" The Alexander Montgomery I knew would have called his lawyer, made a generous donation to child services, and gone back to his life. The question caught him off guard. "I don't know," he said honestly. "When I saw them in the park, when I realized who Lily might be, I couldn't walk away. Not this time." Something in Sarah's expression softened slightly. "For what it's worth, I hope you mean that. Because those children have been failed by every adult who was supposed to protect them. They can't handle another disappointment." Back in the hospital room, Lily was awake, sitting cross-legged on the sofa and drawing on a piece of paper a nurse had given her. She looked up when Alex entered, her expression carefully, neutral, as if she was afraid to hope for anything good. "Morning, Lily," he said, trying to sound casual, despite the weight pressing on his chest. "Merry Christmas." She looked momentarily confused, then her eyes widened. "It's Christmas." "It is, and I was thinking if the doctors say it's okay, maybe we could get Noah out of here and find somewhere more cheerful to spend the day. Would you like that?" Lily nodded cautiously. "Is Noah better?" Alex sat beside her, choosing his words carefully. "The doctors found out why Noah gets tired so easily. He has something called a heart defect. It means his heart has to work extra hard. He'll need an operation to fix it, but not today. Today we can take him home and let him rest somewhere comfortable." "Home?" The word hung between them, a question mark attached. "Well, my home, just for now until we figure things out." Lily seemed to consider this. "Okay," she said finally, "but I need to stay with Noah. I promised Mom I'd take care of him." "You've done an amazing job," Alex said gently. "But you're a kid too, Lily. You don't have to carry this all alone anymore." She didn't respond, but something in her posture relaxed slightly. 2 hours later, discharge papers signed and prescriptions filled, Alex found himself walking through the lobby of his luxury high-rise with 2 children and a duffel bag of hospital-provided supplies. The doorman's eyes widened momentarily before his professional mask slipped back into place. "Good morning, Mr. Montgomery. Merry Christmas." "Thank you, David. Merry Christmas to you, too." The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent. Lily stood close to Alex's side, her eyes taking in the mirrored walls and polished brass fixtures. Noah, bundled in a new blanket from the hospital gift shop, slept peacefully in Alex's arms. When the doors opened directly into his penthouse, Lily gasped softly. The space was immaculate and vast. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Boston, blanketed in Christmas snow. Modern furniture in shades of gray and black created an elegant but sterile environment. A minimalist Christmas tree stood in one corner, professionally decorated in silver and blue, with precisely wrapped packages beneath it that Alex knew contained corporate gifts from business associates. "This is where you live?" Lily asked, her voice small in the cavernous space. "Yes," Alex replied, suddenly seeing his home through her eyes. Cold, impersonal, a showplace rather than a home. "It's big," she said simply. "Too big, probably," Alex admitted. "I don't spend much time here." He led them through the living room into a guest bedroom with an adjoining bathroom. "You and Noah can sleep here. The bathroom has everything you should need. Are you hungry? I can order some food." Lily nodded, setting her small backpack on the bed. "Can Noah have oatmeal? It's soft and easy for him to eat." "Of course, whatever you both need." He left them to settle in, calling his regular food delivery service to order a Christmas spread, then making a second call to a 24-hour luxury concierge service he kept on retainer. "I need children's clothing," he explained. "A girl age 7 and a baby boy 10 months. Basic necessities, toys, whatever they might need. Yes, it's urgent. Double your usual fee for Christmas delivery." With the immediate needs being addressed, Alex checked his phone for the first time since turning it off the night before. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages, over 100 emails. His executive team was in full crisis mode over his unexpected disappearance and the abrupt withdrawal from the Harborside project. He sent a brief message to his assistant, "Still handling family emergency. Cancel all appointments through the new year. Forward urgent matters only." Then he called Frank Miller, a private investigator he'd used for sensitive corporate matters in the past. Frank answered on the second ring, despite it being Christmas morning. "Montgomery, this better be good to interrupt my eggnog. I need a deep background check, Frank. Everything you can find on Rebecca Williams died 3 months ago, cancer. Her sister Helen Williams and her late husband James, construction accident." Frank whistled low. "Christmas morning rush job. That'll cost you? Bill me triple. I need it yesterday." "What am I looking for specifically?" Alex hesitated. "Everything. Medical records, financial situation, criminal history. And Frank, I need a DNA test. Discreet, fast, and legally admissible." "Paternity case?" Frank asked, his tone neutral. "Possibly. I'll send you the details." After ending the call, Alex stood by the window watching snow fall over the city. Christmas Day. Families everywhere were opening presents, sharing meals, making memories. And here he was, suddenly responsible for 2 traumatized children, one with a life-threatening heart condition, while his company teetered on the brink of chaos without his leadership. The sound of soft footsteps made him turn. Lily stood in the doorway, watching him with those solemn eyes that seemed to see too much. "Noah's asleep," she said. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." She approached cautiously, stopping a few feet away. "Did you know my mom? For real?" Alex nodded. "I did, a long time ago." "Were you friends?" "We were more than friends," he said gently. "We were together for almost 3 years." Lily seemed to process this. "She kept your picture all this time." "I didn't know that." "Sometimes she would look at it when she thought I was sleeping. She would cry." Lily's directness was devastating. "Why did you leave her?" The question hit Alex like a physical blow. How could he explain his choices to a child when he barely understood them himself? "I thought I needed to chase success," he said finally. "I had a chance at a big job in another country, and I took it. I chose wrong." Lily considered this. "Mom said some people are like shooting stars. They shine really bright, but they're always moving too fast to stay in one place." "She said that about me." Lily nodded. "But she also said you weren't a bad person. Just lost sometimes." Before Alex could respond, the doorbell rang. The food delivery had arrived, followed minutes later by the concierge service with bags of children's clothing, toys, and essentials. Soon the sterile penthouse was transformed by the chaos of boxes and bags, the coffee table covered with takeout containers of Christmas dinner. Alex had no idea how to prepare a plate for a baby, but Lily showed him with the practiced ease of someone who had been caring for her brother for too long. She mashed small portions of soft foods, tested the temperature, and demonstrated how to feed Noah in a way that accommodated his heart condition. "You have to give him little bits and let him rest," she explained. "See how his lips get a little blue when he gets tired? That means his heart is working too hard." Alex watched in wonder as this 7-year-old expertly cared for an infant with complex medical needs. "How do you know all this, Lily?" She shrugged. "I watched the nurses when Noah was in the hospital after he was born, and Mom taught me when she got too sick to do it herself." That afternoon, while Noah napped, Alex helped Lily unwrap the hastily purchased Christmas gifts. Children's books, art supplies, a stuffed bear, warm clothes in approximately the right sizes. Lily accepted each gift with solemn gratitude, but it was the box of colored pencils that finally made her eyes light up. "Can I draw?" she asked, the first thing she had requested since arriving. "Of course, there's paper in my office." He watched as she settled at the dining table with paper and pencils, her small face intent with concentration. For the first time, she looked like what she was, a child, momentarily free from adult burdens. Alex's phone buzzed. "Frank Miller. I've got preliminary info on your Christmas mystery. You near a computer?" Alex went to his home office, closing the door partially so he could still see Lily at the table. "Go ahead, Frank." Rebecca Williams, age 45, died September 20th from acute myeloid leukemia. Diagnosed 18 months prior. Worked as a pediatric nurse at Boston Children's until her illness. Married to James Reyes, construction foreman, who died in a workplace accident 5 weeks after her death. Fall from the 15th floor of a construction site. Police ruled it accidental. Any red flags on the accident? Nothing obvious, but I'm still digging. Here's where it gets interesting. After James died, custody of the children went to Helen Williams, Rebecca's younger sister, age 43. Helen has a history of substance abuse, 2 DUIs, and a dropped domestic violence charge from an ex-boyfriend 3 years ago. Currently works as an executive assistant at Chen Development. Alex felt his blood run cold. Chen Development, Victor Chen's company. The very same, hired 8 months ago. That's too much of a coincidence. Agreed. There's more. Rebecca left a modest estate, mostly insurance money and some savings. About $300,000 total, but James had a substantial life insurance policy through his union. $1 million with the children as beneficiaries. Helen was named trustee. Alex leaned back in his chair, mind racing. Any signs the money is being misused? Hard to tell yet, but Helen's made some interesting purchases recently. New car, luxury condo, more than her salary would support. I'm following the money trail. And the DNA test? I can come by this afternoon, just need a cheek swab from you and the girl. Results in 48 hours. Make it 24, money's no object. After ending the call, Alex sat motionless, trying to process what he'd learned. Helen Williams, working for Victor Chen. The same Victor Chen who had been Alex's business rival for 15 years. The same Victor Chen whose father had died in an accident at one of Alex's construction sites. The same Victor who had just outbid him on the Harborside project. It couldn't be coincidence, but what was the connection? What did Victor Chen have to do with Rebecca's children? A soft knock on the partially open door interrupted his thoughts. Lily stood there, a piece of paper in her hands. "I made this," she said, holding out her drawing. It was a picture of 3 figures standing in front of a house beside a lake. A tall man, a little girl, and a baby. Above them, a woman with angel wings floated in a sky filled with stars. The detail was remarkable for a 7-year-old, the proportions and perspective showing genuine artistic talent. "It's beautiful, Lily," Alex said, genuinely impressed. "Is that a house by a lake?" She nodded. "Mom always wanted to live by a lake. She said it was peaceful there." Alex felt a pang in his chest, remembering Rebecca's words from long ago. "We'll have a house by a lake someday, with kids running around and a big dog." "Can I put it on the refrigerator?" Lily asked. "Of course." He watched as she carefully attached the drawing to his stainless steel refrigerator with magnets from takeout restaurants. The colorful, childish artwork looked jarringly out of place in his monochromatic kitchen, yet somehow made the space feel more like a home than it ever had before. Frank Miller arrived late that afternoon, discreetly collecting DNA samples from both Alex and Lily. The girl submitted to the cheek swab with the same quiet stoicism she showed toward everything, as if she had long ago learned that questioning adult demands only made things worse. After Frank left, Alex's phone rang again. Victor Chen. Alex stared at the screen, debating whether to answer. Finally, curiosity won out. Victor, Merry Christmas. Skip the pleasantries, Montgomery. Victor's voice was cold. You pulled out of Harborside. I want to know why. Personal reasons. Bullshit. You don't have personal reasons. You don't have a personal life. The accuracy of the statement stung. Things change. Not you, not the great Alexander Montgomery, who'd sell his own mother for a good land deal. Alex glanced toward the living room where Lily was reading a new picture book to Noah. What do you want, Victor? I want to know what game you're playing. First, you pull out of the biggest development opportunity of the decade. Then I hear you've been asking questions about one of my employees. Alex went still. Who told you that? Boston's a small town, Montgomery. People talk. Stay away from Helen Williams. She's under my protection. Your protection? Why would Helen Williams need your protection? Victor's laugh was humorless. You really don't know, do you? She's going to destroy you, Montgomery, and I'm going to enjoy watching it happen. The line went dead. Alex stood motionless, phone still in hand, mind racing. What did Victor know about Helen? What connection could possibly exist between Victor Chen, the children, and their abusive aunt? A sudden cry from the living room snapped him back to the present. Noah was awake and fussing his tiny face red with exertion. Lily was trying to comfort him, but the baby was working himself into a full-blown crying jag. His medicine, Lily said urgently as Alex approached. He needs his heart medicine. It's time. Alex grabbed the prescription bottle from the counter, fumbling with the child-proof cap. Lily expertly measured the dose into the provided dropper and gently administered it to Noah, who gradually calmed as she rocked him. It's okay, Noah, she whispered. It's okay. We're safe now. The simple declaration nearly broke Alex. Were they safe? With Victor Chen's cryptic threats and Helen Williams still legally their guardian, except for the emergency 72-hour order, how could he promise these children any kind of security? As evening fell, bringing with it the end of Christmas Day, Alex helped Lily prepare for bed. The girl insisted on sleeping in the same room as Noah, so Alex moved a small trundle bed into the guest room beside the portable crib he'd had delivered. Will you tell us a story? Lily asked as she climbed into bed, dressed in new pajamas that were slightly too large. Alex hesitated. He couldn't remember the last time he'd read a children's story. I'm not very good at stories. Mom said you used to tell good stories about buildings that touched the sky and bridges that connected people. Another memory surfaced. Late nights with Rebecca talking about his dreams of creating spaces that would change how people lived, worked connected, before those dreams had narrowed to profit margins and stock prices. All right, he said, settling into a chair between the two beds. He began to weave a simple tale about a lonely tower that wanted to make friends with the other buildings in the city. The story was clumsy, improvised, but Lily listened with rapt attention until her eyelids grew heavy. Just as she was drifting off, her small voice broke the quiet. Are you really my dad? The question caught Alex unprepared. I don't know for sure yet, Lily. We'll find out soon. I hope you are, she mumbled, already half asleep. Mom would be happy. Long after both children were asleep, Alex sat in the darkened living room, nursing a glass of scotch and staring out at the city lights. His phone lay on the coffee table screen, occasionally lighting up with urgent messages from his executive team. The company was in turmoil over his sudden absence. The board was demanding explanations. Shareholders were getting nervous. For the first time in his adult life, Alexander Montgomery couldn't bring himself to care about any of it. A notification appeared on his screen. An email from Frank Miller sent at 11:43 p.m. Preliminary results on DNA test, 99.97% probability of paternity. Full report to follow, but thought you'd want to know immediately. Merry Christmas, Dad. Alex set down his glass with an unsteady hand. Though he had suspected it from the moment he saw Lily's eyes, having scientific confirmation was something else entirely. He had a daughter, a 7-year-old daughter who had been living just miles away all these years. A daughter Rebecca had raised alone while he built his empire of glass and steel. The weight of missed birthdays, first steps, first words crashed down on him like a physical force. 7 years of her life gone. 7 years he could never get back. And now suddenly he was responsible not just for Lily, but for Noah as well. A baby with a serious heart condition who needed surgery. 2 traumatized children looking to him for safety and stability, neither of which he had any experience providing. His phone rang again. This time the number was unfamiliar. He answered cautiously. "Is this Alexander Montgomery?" A woman's voice, sharp and cold. "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Helen Williams. I know what you've done, and you better believe I'm coming for them." Alex's grip tightened on the phone. "Ms. Williams given the evidence of abuse." "Save it for court," she snapped. "You think you can waltz in after 7 years and play daddy? You abandoned Rebecca when she needed you most. You don't deserve those kids. And you do after what you did to them." Helen laughed, a brittle sound devoid of humor. "You don't know anything about me or what I've done, but you will. Victor sends his regards, by the way. He's been so helpful explaining all your vulnerabilities." "Is that what this is about, Victor Chen using you to get to me? This is about justice, Mr. Montgomery. For Rebecca, for my father, for everyone you've stepped on to build your precious empire." "Your father? What does your father have to do with this?" But Helen had already hung up. Alex sat motionless, the phone still clutched in his hand, her father. What possible connection could Helen and Rebecca's father have to this situation? He dialed Frank Miller again. "Frank, I need everything you can find on Rebecca and Helen Williams' father, immediately. It's almost midnight on Christmas, Montgomery. Triple your usual rate. This is urgent." While waiting for Frank's call back, Alex checked on the children. Both were sleeping peacefully. Noah's tiny chest rising and falling in the dim glow of a nightlight. Lily curled around her new stuffed bear. In sleep, their faces relaxed from the wariness that had become habitual, revealing the innocence that should have been their birthright. Alex made a silent promise to them both. Whatever Helen was planning, whatever connection existed between her and Victor Chen, he would not let these children be hurt again. Not even if it meant sacrificing everything he'd built. Frank called back an hour later. "Got it. Thomas Williams, father of Rebecca and Helen, worked construction most of his life. Died 15 years ago in a workplace accident. Where? The Westbrook Tower development." Alex felt the blood drain from his face. The Westbrook Tower. His first major project as CEO of Montgomery Development. The site of the accident that had killed 5 workers when a support structure collapsed during construction. The accident that Harold Chen Victor's father and the project's head engineer had warned him might happen if they rushed the schedule. The accident that had been ruled the result of negligence, costing his company millions in settlements and nearly bankrupting him before he'd even begun. Frank was Harold Chen involved in that accident. He was the lead engineer, but he'd filed safety concerns and walked off the job 3 days before the collapse. Thomas Williams was one of the 5 fatalities. The pieces clicked into terrible place. Helen and Rebecca's father had died in the same accident that killed Victor Chen's father. The accident that Alex's rushed timeline had caused, despite warnings. "Jesus Christ," Alex whispered. "There's more," Frank said. "Rebecca was pregnant when Thomas died. About 6 months along, according to the newspaper article about the accident. The baby would have been born around February 2018. Lily's birth month and year. So, Rebecca was pregnant with my child when her father was killed in an accident I was responsible for. Looks that way. And now Victor Chen is working with Helen Williams, who blames me for their father's deaths. A revenge plot 15 years in the making," Frank said. "That's some serious commitment." Alex ended the call and stood by the window watching as snow began to fall again over the sleeping city. Everything made terrible sense now. Victor's lifelong vendetta against him. Helen's hatred. Even Rebecca's decision to keep Lily's existence from him. How could she tell the man she loved that he was responsible for her father's death? Morning arrived with new snow and renewed determination. While the children still slept, Alex made a series of calls beginning with Diana Winston, the most formidable family court attorney in Massachusetts. "Diana, it's Alex Montgomery. I need your help with an emergency custody case." Alex Montgomery calling about a custody case did hell freeze over. "It's complicated. I recently discovered I have a 7-year-old daughter. She and her infant half-brother have been abused by their aunt. I have emergency temporary guardianship for 72 hours, but I need to make it permanent." Diana's tone shifted from amused to professional. That is complicated. When's the hearing? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Judge Blackwood's court. Eleanor Blackwood. She hates entitled rich men. No offense. None taken. It's accurate. I'll need all the documentation you have. Medical reports, CPS findings, proof of paternity evidence of the aunt's unfitness. And Alex, be prepared. Family court isn't like corporate law. It gets messy and personal fast. After arranging to meet Diana later that day, Alex made his next call to Sarah Chen. Despite their history and her brother's involvement in whatever scheme was unfolding, she was Noah's doctor, and the children needed her expertise. Dr. Chen speaking. Sarah, it's Alex Montgomery. I need to talk to you about Noah's surgery. A pause. I have a consultation scheduled for you with Dr. Patel this morning at 10. I need to know how urgent this is. The legal situation is complicated. The aunt is fighting for custody, and she's working with your brother. Another longer pause. What does Victor have to do with this? I think he's using Helen Williams as part of a vendetta against me. It goes back to the Westbrook accident. Helen and Rebecca's father died alongside your father. Sarah's sharp intake of breath was audible. I had no idea. I just found out myself. But these children are caught in the middle of something that happened 15 years ago. Something terrible that was my fault, I admit that. But they're innocent. Come to the consultation, Sarah said finally. Noah's condition is serious, but not immediately life-threatening. We have some time to sort this out, but not much. When Alex ended the call, he turned to find Lily standing in the doorway, watching him with those two perceptive eyes. Is Noah going to die? She asked quietly. Alex knelt down to her level. No, Lily, Noah is not going to die. He needs an operation to fix his heart, but the doctors are very good at this kind of surgery. Aunt Helen said he was too much trouble, that the medical bills would bankrupt her. Another piece of the puzzle fell into place. Is that why she wouldn't take him to the doctor? Because of money? Lily nodded. She said his medicine was too expensive. Sometimes she'd skip giving it to him. Fury rose in Alex's chest, but he kept his voice gentle. Lily, I need to tell you something important. The doctors did a special test yesterday, and it shows that I'm your biological father. Lily didn't seem surprised. Mom said you might be. She wasn't sure you'd want to know. I wish she had told me, Alex said. I would have wanted to know you. Even though you were busy building cities, even then, Lily seemed to consider this. What about Noah? He's not your real kid. That doesn't matter. I care about both of you. Aunt Helen is going to try to take us away, isn't she? Alex nodded, not wanting to lie. She might try, but I won't let that happen. She's scary when she's mad, Lily whispered. She throws things and says bad words. You don't have to be afraid of her anymore, I promise. Lily looked at him for a long moment, then reached out tentatively and took his hand. Her small fingers curled around his, a gesture of trust, so simple, yet so profound, that Alex felt something crack open inside his chest. I'll protect you, Lily, he said. You and Noah both. For the first time since he'd met her, Lily gave him a real smile. Small and uncertain, but genuine. I know, she said. Mom said you would. The Boston family court building stood cold and imposing in the morning light, its gray stone facade dusted with fresh snow. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a harsh glow on worn wooden benches and linoleum floors polished by decades of anxious footsteps. The air smelled of industrial cleaner and desperation. Alex sat in the corridor outside courtroom 3, his posture rigid despite the exhaustion weighing on his shoulders. Beside him, Diana Winston reviewed documents with practiced efficiency, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun, reading glasses perched on the end of her nose. At 58, Diana had spent 30 years in family court, earning a reputation as both brilliant and ruthless when protecting children's interests. Remember, she said without looking up, Judge Blackwood despises theatrics. Stick to facts, show humility, and for God's sake, don't mention your net worth or your company unless directly asked. Alex nodded his attention, focused on Lily, sitting across the hall, with the court-appointed guardian ad litem, a kind-faced woman named Marjorie, who specialized in representing children's interests in custody cases. Lily wore a simple blue dress they'd purchased the day before, her hair neatly braided. She sat with perfect posture, hands folded in her lap, the practiced stillness of a child who had learned to make herself invisible when adults were deciding her fate. Noah was with Dr. Sarah Chen, who had agreed to supervise him during the hearing. His heart condition made long, stressful court proceedings potentially dangerous. Mr. Montgomery, Alex looked up to find Gabriela Martinez from CPS approaching. Ms. Martinez, I've filed my initial report. She hesitated. Given the evidence of physical abuse and neglect in Ms. Williams' home, I've recommended that the children remain in temporary foster care while a full investigation is conducted. Foster care, Alex couldn't keep the shock from his voice. I thought with the DNA confirmation, DNA confirms biological connection, not parenting ability, Gabriela said gently. You have no experience with children, Mr. Montgomery. You live alone in a penthouse, not designed for children. You work 80-hour weeks. These are legitimate concerns. I'm willing to make any changes necessary. I've already started looking at houses near good schools. I can work remotely, Delegate Moore. Diana touched his arm, a subtle signal to calm down. We understand your concerns, Ms. Martinez, she said smoothly, and we appreciate your commitment to the children's welfare. But separating them from the only adult who's shown genuine care for their well-being seems counterproductive, especially given Noah's medical condition. Gabriela's expression softened slightly. I understand. That's why I've also noted that if the court does award temporary custody to Mr. Montgomery, I would recommend intensive support services, parenting classes, regular home visits, and a clear path to demonstrating long-term commitment. Before Alex could respond, the atmosphere in the corridor shifted. Heads turned as Helen Williams entered, flanked by a sharp-featured attorney in an expensive suit. Helen was a study in calculated presentation, conservative dress, subtle makeup hair pulled back in a modest bun. Only her eyes betrayed her cold and hard as she scanned the hallway and locked onto Lily. The girl visibly flinched, shrinking into herself. The reaction was subtle, but unmistakable, the instinctive response of prey in the presence of a predator. Alex moved without thinking, positioning himself between Helen and Lily. Helen's lips curved in a smile that never reached her eyes. Playing the protective father already, she said, voice pitched low enough that only he could hear. A bit late, don't you think? 7 years late to be exact. This isn't about me or you, Alex replied quietly. It's about two children who deserve safety and love. Love, Helen almost laughed. From the great Alexander Montgomery, the man whose only love is seeing his name on buildings. Please. Before Alex could respond, the courtroom doors opened. Williams and Montgomery custody matter, the clerk announced. Judge Blackwood presiding. Inside the courtroom was smaller than Alex had expected, intimate, in a way that made the proceedings feel even more consequential. Judge Eleanor Blackwood, a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair cut in a practical bob, regarded them all with penetrating eyes that had seen every possible human drama unfold in her courtroom. I've reviewed the filings in this matter, she began without preamble. Let me be clear, the only consideration in this court is the welfare of these children. I don't care about adult agendas, personal vendettas, or who can afford the most expensive attorney. Ms. Winston, since you're representing the petitioner for custody, you may begin. Diana rose, her manner respectful but confident. Your Honor, we're seeking temporary full custody for Alexander Montgomery of his biological daughter, Lily Williams, and her half-brother, Noah Williams. DNA testing has confirmed Mr. Montgomery's paternity with 99.97% certainty. She proceeded to outline the circumstances Alex discovering the children in Boston Common on Christmas Eve, the documented evidence of abuse and neglect, under Helen's care, Noah's serious heart condition that had gone untreated, and Alex's commitment to providing a stable home for both children. While Mr. Montgomery has no prior parenting experience, Diana acknowledged, he has already demonstrated his commitment by arranging appropriate medical care for Noah, securing suitable accommodations for both children, and prioritizing their needs above his considerable professional obligations. Helen's attorney, Martin Reynolds, countered with practiced indignation, painting Helen as a loving aunt, overwhelmed by the sudden responsibility of caring for two children after the tragic deaths of their mother and stepfather. Ms. Williams has been struggling with the immense emotional and financial burden of caring for these children, Reynolds argued. Any shortcomings in care were the result of being a single woman suddenly thrust into parenthood, not willful neglect. Meanwhile, Mr. Montgomery, a man of enormous wealth and influence, has suddenly appeared claiming paternity after 7 years of complete absence. One must question his motives and timing. Judge Blackwood's expression remained impassive. Ms. Williams, please approach the stand. Helen took the oath, the picture of dignified grief. Your Honor, I loved my sister more than anything. When she passed, I promised to care for her children as my own. It hasn't been easy. Noah's medical needs are extensive and expensive. Lily has emotional issues stemming from witnessing her mother's decline. I've done my best under impossible circumstances. And the bruising on Noah's body, Judge Blackwood asked directly. The malnutrition documented by hospital staff. Helen's eyes filled with calculated tears. Noah bruises easily because of his heart condition. As for his weight, he struggles to eat due to his health issues. I've been working extra hours trying to afford his medications. Perhaps I should have asked for help sooner, but I was trying to honor my sister's wishes by keeping the family together. And what were your sister's wishes regarding Mr. Montgomery? The judge pressed. Helen hesitated just long enough to be noticeable. Rebecca never wanted him involved. She felt abandoned by him when she needed him most. She never even told him about Lily because she believed he wouldn't want the responsibility. Alex felt each word like a physical blow. Was that true? Had Rebecca really believed he wouldn't have wanted their child? The thought was almost unbearable. Mr. Montgomery, Judge Blackwood called next. Please take the stand. Under oath, Alex told his story without embellishment. Meeting the children in the park, recognizing the locket, learning about Rebecca's death, and realizing Lily might be his daughter. His commitment to both children, regardless of biology. You've built a billion-dollar company, Mr. Montgomery, Judge Blackwood noted. That requires singular focus. Children need consistency, stability, attention. How do you propose to provide that while running Montgomery Development? I've already begun restructuring my professional responsibilities, Alex replied. My CFO and executive team are assuming day-to-day operations. I've purchased a house in Brookline near excellent schools. I'm arranging for appropriate childcare and support. That all sounds very efficient, the judge observed. But raising children isn't a business acquisition. It requires emotional investment, patience, sacrifice. What makes you believe you're capable of providing not just material comfort, but emotional security for two traumatized children? Alex paused, aware that his answer might determine whether these children remained in his life. I don't have a perfect answer, Your Honor. 25 years ago, I made a terrible choice. I chose ambition over love, and it cost me everything that mattered. I didn't know about Lily until 3 days ago, but if I had known, I hope I would have been there for her and for Rebecca. He looked directly at Lily, who watched him with solemn attention. I can't undo the past. I can't give these children back the years they've lost or the pain they've suffered, but I can promise them that from this day forward, they will be my priority. Not buildings, not money, not success. Them. Judge Blackwood studied him, her expression unreadable. That's a lovely speech, Mr. Montgomery, but actions speak louder than words. Ms. Martinez, what is the recommendation from Child Protective Services? Gabriella presented her assessment, acknowledging both the clear evidence of neglect under Helen's care and the legitimate questions about Alex's ability to transition to parenthood. While further investigation is warranted, the immediate safety concerns for these children are significant. I would recommend temporary placement with Mr. Montgomery, contingent on intensive support services and regular monitoring. Dr. Chen's medical affidavit is particularly concerning, Gabriella added. Noah's heart condition was clearly being undertreated with potentially life-threatening consequences. Ms. Williams failed to administer prescribed medications consistently and missed multiple follow-up appointments. Helen's attorney objected strenuously, arguing that such accusations were exaggerated and lacked context. As the attorneys sparred, a court officer approached Judge Blackwood with a note. She read it, her eyebrows rising slightly. It appears, she announced, cutting through the debate, that we have an unexpected witness. Lily Williams has asked to speak to the court. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Even Diana looked surprised. This is highly irregular, Judge Blackwood noted. Ms. Marjorie, as guardian ad litem, do you believe this is in Lily's best interest? Marjorie approached the bench. Your Honor, Lily was very insistent. She understands the seriousness of these proceedings and feels she has important information. Given her age and maturity, I believe the court would benefit from hearing her perspective. After a moment's consideration, Judge Blackwood nodded. I'll speak with Lily in my chambers with only the guardian ad litem and court reporter present. We'll recess for 15 minutes. As Lily was led toward the judge's chambers, she glanced back at Alex. The look in her eyes, determination mingled with fear, nearly broke his heart. The 15 minutes stretched into 30. When the court reconvened, Judge Blackwood's expression had subtly changed. There was a new tightness around her mouth, a sharpness in her gaze as she regarded Helen Williams. Having heard from all parties, the judge began, I'm prepared to make a preliminary ruling. However, first I must address a concerning matter. Lily Williams has provided testimony that directly contradicts Ms. Williams's account of the care these children received. She described in detail being locked in a basement for hours, while Ms. Williams was away being denied food as punishment, and witnessing her aunt deliberately withholding Noah's medication. Helen's face drained of color. Most disturbingly, Judge Blackwood continued, Lily described overhearing a phone conversation between Ms. Williams and someone she referred to as Mr. Victor, discussing plans to use the kids to get back at him and make him pay for what he did. Alex felt a chill run through him. Victor Chen. Helen had been explicitly plotting with Victor to use the children as pawns in their revenge. Ms. Williams, do you wish to respond to these allegations? Judge Blackwood asked. Helen's composure cracked. She's lying. She's always making up stories. She's manipulative, just like her mother. I remind you that you're under oath, Ms. Williams, the judge said coldly, and I found Lily's testimony both credible and disturbing. Based on the evidence before me, I'm granting temporary full custody of both children to Alexander Montgomery, effective immediately. Helen shot to her feet. You can't do that. He has no right to Noah. Noah is James's son. Noah and Lily are siblings, Judge Blackwood stated firmly. This court will not separate them. Mr. Montgomery has demonstrated both the ability and willingness to care for both children appropriately, while serious questions have been raised about your fitness as a guardian, Ms. Williams. She continued outlining the conditions regular home visits from CPS mandatory parenting classes for Alex and a review hearing in 90 days. Helen was granted supervised visitation rights pending further investigation of the abuse allegations. Additionally, the judge concluded, I'm ordering an investigation into the concerns raised about potential conspiracy involving these children. Ms. Williams, you are ordered to have no contact with either child outside of the supervised visitation schedule. Mr. Montgomery, you are ordered to keep the court apprised of any change in residence or employment status. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck with finality. Helen's face contorted with rage as she turned to Alex. This isn't over, she hissed. Victor was right about you. You think you can take everything and face no consequences. Not this time. Before Alex could respond, Diana steered him toward the exit. Don't engage, she murmured. We got what we needed today. Let's focus on the children. Outside the courtroom, Lily waited with Marjorie. Her small face showed relief mingled with exhaustion. Is it over? She asked as Alex approached. Can we go home now? Home. Such a simple word, yet it carried such profound meaning. Not just a place, but a promise of safety, belonging permanence. Yes, Alex said, kneeling to her level. We can go home. Lily's shoulders relaxed, tension draining from her small body. I told the judge about the basement and about Noah's medicine. I wasn't supposed to hear that stuff about you, but the walls are thin, and Aunt Helen talks loud on the phone when she's drinking. You were very brave, Alex said gently. I'm proud of you. Lily studied his face as if searching for the truth behind his words. Are you going to be our dad now, for real? I'd like to be, if that's okay with you. She nodded solemnly. Noah needs a dad, and I guess I do too. It wasn't an emotional declaration of love or acceptance, but from Lily, it was everything. A cautious step toward trust. They collected Noah from Sarah Chen, who had kept him comfortable in a private conference room during the proceedings. The baby was awake, his dark eyes curious as they moved from Lily to Alex. The surgery is scheduled for next Thursday, Sarah informed them. We'll need to admit Noah the day before for preparation. We'll be ready, Alex assured her. Sarah hesitated, then added, Alex about my brother. I had no idea he was involved with Helen Williams or what they were planning. Victor has changed since our father died. He's consumed by bitterness. It was my fault, Alex admitted quietly. The accident. I rushed construction despite your father's warnings. 5 men died, including Helen and Rebecca's father. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Dad warned you, yes, but he also told me once that you were the only one who visited every family afterward. The only one who looked them in the eye and apologized. The memory surfaced painfully. Sitting in Thomas Williams' living room, facing his grieving family. Rebecca had been there visibly pregnant, though Alex hadn't known the child was his. Had she recognized him? Had she made the connection? Or had the grief been too overwhelming to register anything else? It wasn't enough, Alex said. Nothing could be. No, Sarah agreed. But these children aren't responsible for the sins of the past. They deserve a chance at happiness. As they left the courthouse, snow began falling again, soft flakes melting as they touched the children's upturned faces. Lily stuck out her tongue to catch them, a rare moment of childish spontaneity that made Alex's heart constrict. The next week passed in a blur of activity and adjustment. Alex completed the purchase of the house in Brookline, a warm Victorian with a generous backyard that sloped down to a small pond. While contractors worked to make it child-friendly, they remained in the penthouse, slowly transforming the sterile space with evidence of children's toys scattered on expensive rugs, picture books piled on glass coffee tables, finger paintings taped to stainless steel refrigerators. Diana helped navigate the legal aftermath, securing restraining orders against Helen, when Frank Miller uncovered evidence that she had been embezzling from the Children's Trust Fund. The investigation revealed that she had spent over $200,000 of their inheritance in just 3 months primarily on luxury items for herself, while neglecting the children's basic needs. The revelation of Victor Chen's involvement proved more complicated. While Lily's testimony and Helen's outburst in court strongly suggested a conspiracy, concrete evidence remained elusive. Victor was too careful, too practiced at maintaining plausible deniability. What was clear, however, was that both Helen and Victor had seen the children as tools for revenge, rather than human beings deserving of care and protection. The thought made Alex physically ill. On the day of Noah's surgery, Alex sat in the cardiac wing of Boston Children's Hospital Lilly, beside him, both of them silent with worry. Noah had been in surgery for 3 hours already, with several more to go. The procedure to repair his ventricular septal defect was routine for the surgical team, but fraught with risk for such a young, undernourished patient. "Is he going to be okay?" Lily asked, her voice small in the hushed waiting room. "Dr. Chen said he has an excellent surgeon," Alex replied, "one of the best in the country." "But you're scared too," Lily observed with her uncanny perceptiveness. "I can tell." Alex didn't deny it. "Yes, I'm scared. It's okay to be scared when someone you love is in danger." "You love Noah," Lily sounded surprised. "Even though he's not your real kid, I love both of you," Alex said simply. "Biology doesn't determine family, Lily. Love does." She considered this, swinging her legs thoughtfully. "Mom used to say that too. That's why she married James, even though he wasn't my real dad. He loved me anyway." The casual revelation stunned Alex. James had loved Lily as his own, stepping into the role that should have been Alex's. The role Alex was trying to learn now, years too late. "Was James a good dad?" he asked carefully. Lily nodded. "He taught me how to ride a bike, and he never got mad when I made mistakes. He said mistakes are how you learn." "He sounds like a wise man. He was going to adopt me legally," Lily continued. "But then Mom got sick, and everything got sad." The simplicity of her description, "everything got sad," captured the profound grief of a child's world collapsing around her. First her mother's illness, then James' death, then Helen's abuse. So much loss for such a small person to bear. "I'm sorry you lost him, Lily." She shrugged, the gesture at odds with the pain in her eyes. "Mom says people don't really leave us. They just move to our hearts instead of our houses." The wisdom in her words left Alex speechless. Rebecca's influence lived on in their daughter, in her resilience, her insight, her capacity for love, despite everything she had endured. Hours later, Sarah Chen emerged from the surgical wing, her face tired, but smiling. The surgery was successful. Noah is in recovery now. The relief was so intense that Alex felt lightheaded. "When can we see him?" "He'll be in intensive care overnight. You can visit briefly one at a time. Tomorrow, if all goes well, he'll move to a regular room where you can both spend more time with him." Lily insisted Alex go first. "Tell him I'm waiting," she instructed, and that I drew him a picture of our new house. In the pediatric ICU, Noah looked impossibly small amid the monitoring equipment. His tiny chest bandaged his face, pale but peaceful under the influence of pain medication. Alex approached cautiously, overwhelmed by the fragility of this life, now entrusted to his care. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, gently touching Noah's hand. "You did great. Lily's waiting to see you. She drew you a picture of our new house. It has a pond where ducks live. You're going to love it there." Noah's fingers reflexively curled around Alex's, a gesture so simple, yet so profound, that it brought unexpected tears to his eyes. This child had no biological connection to him yet. In that moment, Alex knew he would die to protect him, just as he would for Lily. Later, as Lily took her turn at Noah's bedside, Alex found Sarah in the hospital corridor reviewing charts. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything." She glanced up, her expression softening. "I was just doing my job." "We both know it was more than that." Sarah hesitated. "I saw Victor yesterday. He knows about the restraining order against Helen. He's angry." "I expected that. He's not going to let this go, Alex. Whatever vendetta he has against you, it's consumed him for 15 years. It's not rational anymore." "I know. That's why we're moving to the new house as soon as Noah is strong enough. The security system is being installed tomorrow. I've hired protection for the children." Sarah nodded, then asked the question that had clearly been bothering her. "Why did you withdraw from the Harborside project? It would have been the largest development in your company's history." Alex considered the question. 3 days ago, I was sitting in a board meeting discussing the revised bid. Lily called from home just to tell me that Noah had rolled over by himself for the first time. She was so excited. And I realized in that moment that I didn't care about Harborside. I cared about not missing that moment and all the moments to come. Sarah studied him with new understanding. "You really have changed." "Not changed. Remembered. The man I was before success and ambition twisted everything." He paused. "Your father saw that man, the one worth believing in. I forgot him for a long time." 2 weeks after Noah's surgery, they finally moved into the Brookline house. The Victorian had been transformed with child safety features, comfortable furniture, and bedrooms decorated to each child's preferences. Lily had chosen sky blue walls with stars on the ceiling for her room, while Noah's nursery featured a woodland theme with gentle animals watching over his crib. As the movers brought in the last of their belongings, Lily stood in the large bay window of the living room, gazing out at the pond where a family of ducks glided across the surface. "Is this our forever home?" she asked, her breath fogging the glass. "If you want it to be," Alex replied, standing beside her. "We can stay here as long as it makes you happy." "Mom would have loved it," Lily said softly, "especially the pond. She always wanted to live near water." "I remember," Alex said. "She told me once about wanting a house by a lake with kids running around and a big dog." Lily's eyes lit up. "Can we get a dog? Once Noah is a little stronger, I don't see why not." That evening, after the children were settled, Noah sleeping peacefully in his new room, his recovery progressing remarkably well, and Lily reading quietly in bed, Alex sat on the back porch, watching darkness settle over the pond. The air was cold, but not bitter, carrying the promise of spring beneath winter's grasp. His phone rang. The caller ID showed Frank Miller. "Frank, what have you found?" "You might want to be sitting down for this," Frank said. "I've been digging into Victor Chen's finances, looking for connections to Helen Williams. There's nothing direct, he's too smart for that, but I found something else. Something about Rebecca." Alex tensed. "What about her?" "After Thomas Williams died in the Westbrook accident, your company paid settlement money to all 5 families, including the Williamses. Rebecca received just over $1 million. I remember, it was the right thing to do, even though it nearly bankrupted the company at the time." "Here's the thing," Frank continued. "Rebecca never spent that money. She invested it, let it grow. When she died, it had become almost $5 million. According to her will, every penny was left in trust for Lily and Noah." Alex frowned. "But Helen was the trustee. She's been stealing from it." "Not the whole trust, just the smaller account that was immediately accessible. The bulk of the money is in a separate trust that Helen couldn't touch. It required dual approval from the trustee and the children's biological father." The implication hung in the air between them. "Rebecca knew," Alex said softly. "She knew someday I'd find out about Lily." "There's more," Frank said. "I found a safety deposit box in Rebecca's name. Inside was a letter addressed to you dated about a month before she died. and a recording. A recording of Helen. Apparently, Rebecca suspected her sister might not have the children's best interests at heart. She secretly recorded Helen talking about her plans to use the children to access their trust fund money. The recording doesn't mention Victor specifically, but it's damning evidence of Helen's intentions long before she ever had custody. "I need that letter and recording," Alex said. "Already on my way to you." When Frank arrived an hour later, Alex sat at the kitchen table, turning the sealed envelope over in his hands. His name was written in Rebecca's handwriting, the sight of it catapulting him back through time. "Take your time," Frank said. "I'll wait outside." Alone, Alex carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in Rebecca's distinctive, flowing script. "Alex, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and you found Lily. I always knew you would eventually. Some connections are too strong to remain broken forever. I should have told you about her from the beginning. I wanted to so many times. But when my father died in that terrible accident, and I learned your company was responsible, I couldn't bear it. Not because I blamed you, I never did, but because I couldn't stand the thought of you blaming yourself. You would have stayed out of guilt, not love, and that would have destroyed us all in the end. So I let you go. I built a life without you. I found love again with James, who has been a wonderful father to Lily, but I never stopped thinking of you, wondering what might have been. Lily is so much like you, brilliant, determined, seeing the world in structures and patterns. She has your eyes and your stubbornness. Sometimes it hurts to look at her and see you staring back at me. I'm leaving her everything I have, but money isn't what she'll need most. She'll need guidance, protection, love. James will provide that if he can, but if you're reading this, something has happened to him as well. I don't trust my sister Helen with Lily's future. She's always been envious, resentful. The recording enclosed will explain why. I made it when Helen didn't know I was listening, when she thought the medication had put me to sleep. If Helen has custody of Lily when you find this letter, please get my daughter away from her. Get both children away from her. Noah isn't yours by blood, but he is Lily's brother in every way that matters, and she loves him fiercely. I'm sorry for the years we lost Alex. Sorry for the father Lily never knew. Sorry for keeping this secret that was never mine alone to keep. I hope someday you can forgive me. I loved you then. I love you still, in that quiet way of loving someone who has become part of your bones, your breath, your being. Take care of our girl. Rebecca. Alex read the letter 3 times, tears flowing freely down his face. All these years, he'd assumed Rebecca had moved on completely, had forgotten him in the life she built without him. To know she had thought of him, had loved him still, was a gift he had never expected, and didn't deserve. The recording was as damning as Frank had suggested. Helen's voice slightly slurred from alcohol, outlining her plans to access the children's money, her resentment toward Rebecca for always being the golden child, her determination to finally get what she deserved from life. It was evidence enough to permanently terminate Helen's parental rights and possibly pursue criminal charges for the abuse and neglect the children had suffered under her care. But it didn't mention Victor Chen. Whatever connection existed between them remained circumstantial, unprovable. Frank took the recording to Diana for legal processing, leaving Alex alone with Rebecca's letter and his thoughts. He sat on the back porch until dawn, watching night give way to morning, feeling Rebecca's presence in the way the mist rose from the pond in the call of awakening birds, in the quiet house where their daughter slept safely at last. Spring arrived with gentle persistence, coaxing green shoots from thawed earth and buds from dormant branches. Noah's recovery progressed remarkably well, his cheeks filling out his eyes, bright with newfound energy as his heart pumped efficiently for the first time in his young life. He began hitting developmental milestones that had been delayed by his conditions, sitting up unassisted, babbling more expressively, reaching for toys with purpose and delight. Lily flourished too, though more cautiously. She started at a new school where nobody knew her history, where she could just be a normal second grader with a talent for art and mathematics. She made a few friends, participated in class, and slowly, gradually began to laugh more freely. The nightmares that had plagued her in the early weeks diminished, though they still came, occasionally leaving her shaking and tearful in the night. On those nights, Alex would sit beside her bed, sometimes reading softly, sometimes just being present until she felt safe enough to sleep again. The legal proceedings continued their glacial pace. Helen faced criminal charges for child endangerment and financial exploitation. Victor Chen remained carefully distant from the scandal, though his company suffered when news of his executive assistant's arrest made headlines. On a warm Saturday in May, Alex sat on a blanket by the pond, watching Lily teach Noah to feed the ducks. The baby sat propped against cushions, giggling in delight as the birds approached cautiously to snatch breadcrumbs from his outstretched hand. "Not too much bread," Lily instructed solemnly. "It's not good for their tummies. We need to get proper duck food. We'll add it to the shopping list," Alex assured her, amazed as always by her capacity for care despite everything she had endured. A shadow fell across the blanket. Alex looked up to find Victor Chen standing at the edge of the property, his expensive suit incongruous against the natural setting. "Mr. Montgomery," Victor said formally, "I hope I'm not interrupting family time." Alex rose, slowly positioning himself between Victor and the children. "What do you want, Victor?" "Just to talk, that's all. I have nothing to say to you, not after what you and Helen planned for these children." Victor's expression remained neutral. Helen Williams acted alone in her treatment of those children. "I had nothing to do with that." "You used her," Alex said flatly. "You knew she was unstable, resentful. You encouraged her vendetta against me and didn't care who got hurt in the process." "Prove it," Victor challenged, then sighed. "But that's not why I'm here. I came to give you this." He held out a manila envelope. When Alex didn't move to take it, Victor placed it on a nearby garden bench. "What is it?" Alex asked. "Sarah told me about Noah's heart condition, about the surgery. This is a copy of my father's medical records. He had the same defect undiagnosed until adulthood. It's genetic. Might be useful information for Noah's doctors." The unexpected gesture caught Alex off guard. "Why would you help Noah?" Victor's composure cracked slightly, revealing something vulnerable beneath the polished exterior. "Because children shouldn't suffer for the sins of their parents, or their guardians." He paused. "My father said that once, after the accident. I didn't understand what he meant until recently." "Victor, I don't want your apology, Montgomery. Nothing changes what happened at Westbrook. Nothing brings my father back." His gaze drifted to the children by the pond. "But this vendetta has consumed 15 years of my life. I'm tired, and those children deserve better than to be pawns in our private war." With that, he turned to leave. "Victor," Alex called after him. "Thank you. For the medical records?" Victor nodded once without turning back, then continued to his car, parked on the street. Lily approached cautiously after he'd gone. "Who was that man?" "Someone I used to know," Alex replied. "Someone who's been angry at me for a very long time." "Is he still angry?" Alex considered the question. "I think he's trying not to be. Anger is heavy to carry for too long." Lily nodded, accepting this with the wisdom of a child who had experienced too much. "Noah's getting sleepy. It's almost his nap time. Let's get him inside then." As Alex lifted Noah, now heavy with healthy weight, the baby reached up to touch his face, a gesture of trust and affection that never failed to humble him. Lily gathered the breadcrumbs and blanket, organizing everything with her characteristic efficiency. Together they walked back toward the house that was becoming a home step by step, day by day. That evening, after both children were asleep, Alex sat on the back porch with a glass of iced tea, watching fireflies begin their nightly dance over the pond. The past 3 months had transformed his life in ways he never could have imagined. His company was thriving under the leadership of his executive team, who had risen to the challenge of his reduced involvement. The house had filled with evidence of family life finger paintings on the refrigerator, toys in the yard, a half-built treehouse in the old oak. Most importantly, Alex had learned the complex, humbling art of fatherhood. He had learned to check for monsters under beds, to bandage scraped knees, to recognize the difference between Noah's hungry cry and his tired one. He had learned that Lily needed space to process her emotions, but reassurance that he wouldn't leave when they overwhelmed her. He had learned patience, presence, and the profound joy of watching his children heal and grow. A soft footfall on the porch made him turn. Lily stood in the doorway, clutching a large piece of drawing paper. "I thought you were asleep," Alex said gently. "I was making this." She held out the paper. "It's for you." The drawing showed 4 figures standing beside the pond. Alex, Lily, and Noah on the ground, and a woman with flowing hair and angel wings floating above them, surrounded by stars and sunflowers. "That's Mom," Lily explained, pointing to the angel figure, "watching over us. She'd be happy, I think, about how things turned out." Alex swallowed past the lump in his throat. "I think so too." "Can we hang it on the fridge?" "We can do better than that," Alex said. "We'll get it framed properly and hang it in the living room." Lily's face lit up. "Really, like real art?" "It is real art, the most important art in this house." She hesitated, then handed him the drawing and climbed onto his lap, something she had never done before. "I miss her sometimes. A lot." "I know," Alex said, wrapping his arms gently around her small frame. "I miss her too, but I'm glad we found you." Lily continued, her voice muffled against his shirt. "I'm glad you stayed." "Me too, Lily," he whispered into her hair. "More than you'll ever know." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the fireflies rise higher over the pond, listening to the gentle symphony of spring peepers and distant wind chimes. In the quiet moment between father and daughter, something long broken began to heal. The next morning, Lily announced at breakfast that they should plant sunflowers beside the pond. "Mom's favorites," she explained, "so she can see them from heaven." Later that day, they prepared the soil together, Noah watching from his blanket nearby, occasionally stuffing fistfuls of grass into his mouth when Alex wasn't looking fast enough to stop him. Lily carefully planted each seed, marking them with small wooden signs she had painted herself. "This one's for Mom," she said, placing a special marker. "This one's for Noah. This one's for me. And this one's for you." "Will they grow as tall as the house?" Alex asked. Lily considered this seriously. "Maybe, if we take good care of them." "Then we will," Alex promised. "Every day." As summer progressed, the sunflowers grew strong and tall, reaching toward the sky with determined persistence. Like the children themselves, they thrived with proper care, attention, and love. And in their growing, a family once broken found itself mended different than before, but stronger at the wounded places, more beautiful for having been repaired.